Instructions for a Seance with Vladimirs by Terence Hayes.
Instructions for a seance with Vladimirs. Feeble heart, beware. Do not contact the spirits unless you are prepared for the ramifications of contact. 2 reasons seances work. 1, the dead are lonely. Symptoms include witchcraft, a boom bap, some claptrap played in a parallel room. I'm thinking of self-destruction performed by Stop the Violence All-Stars. I'm too tough to die. This is the motto of the dead while they are alive. 2, we are lonely. Symptoms include talking alone, dancing alone, making love alone, at least once a day. The symptoms of loneliness are possible evidence of a metaphysical hunger. The mouth on your navel is your own. You sprawl on a 2-dimensional floor, weeping. Your life is a series of unacknowledged sacrifices. Only ghosts named Vladimir understand this. Create an exclusive believers-only invitation list. Invite as many open-minded Vladimirs as possible, for they are like magnets attracting the Vladimirs who are dead. Vladimirs with 80s-styled haircuts will attract top-hat Vladimirs. Vladimir the plumber will attract Vladimir the swimmer and philosophical Vladimirs. A typewriter and a wild disarray of papers should be set out to lure suicidal Vladimirs. Set up a spirit-friendly environment. The action should take place in a provincial room. The action should take place in a winter barn. The action should take place in an elevator. Do not put nails on the roads or stairs. Do not put dirt in the gasoline tanks or punch. Let's say you've gone back in time. The action should take place among the unwieldy entourages of a grand prince, Vladimir, in a time of plague, pneumonia, paranoia, intellectual starvation, spiritual exhaustion, pratfalls, missteps. It should take place at 12 o'clock noon. 5 soldiers should pass the house rapidly. The exact speed of light in a vacuum is roughly 300 million meters per second. 4 things you will need to hold a proper seance. 1, a circular table, around which the skulls shall faint and float backwards with the skeleton of momentum and the gaping jaws and the clinging teeth, a little red heart beating center stage, a circular route of negative and positive transgressions, a means of disappearance and peace. 2, candles that stretch your tar-shaped shadow and illuminate the stack of Vladimir's books. Never read by candlelight, by the way. I didn't say sunlight. Moonlight, stars. Your tar-shaped shadow, that double exposure. Burn red candles if you desire Vladimir in a halo of warplanes. Burn borrowed candles if you desire a Vladimir with a beautiful gangrene gaze. Break a single candlestick and burn each half if you desire the presence of a young bewigged Vladimir and a bald old mugshot Vladimir. 3, incense. Cinnamon provides energy and lures cats to the window. Frankincense expands consciousness and aids in meditation. Sandalwood grounds the participants and helps them to stay focused. Beware, there is such a thing as too much symbolism. 4, tape or video recorder. A man in one of the windows outside your house will be watching. Select a medium. If you can find your way to Russia's red light districts of distraction, tall with vodka and smitten. Look for the women cooing. Ooh. In dark paneled cam rooms, safe housed and exhausted enough to channel death. Look for the woman lifting an uncoupled breast to the camera in a room without windows. If you hear the mechanical hum of the soul seeping out of her body, she's the medium you should use. Summon the spirit. Begin by joining hands with the people on either side of you and closing your eyes. Now, a certain nobility is implicit in saying what I don't believe and hoping you believe it. No door will open without creaking. Drugs help and are easy to use, but hard to acquire. I have two hands, and they are not as similar as they seem. Sample Ghost Summons number 1.
Hasten to enter. Shock brigades of an exemplary labor.
Sample Ghost Summons number 2.
Dear heart, sometimes there is a hunger I know to be your absence. It is a darkness and a loudness. It is a nest holding rows of eggs without hearts. I fit my head around it. I dream of you asking the northern sky for a coat of abominable light.
Sample Ghost Summons number 3.
Now I am quietly waiting for the catastrophe of my personality to seem beautiful again, and interesting, and modern.
Possible pastimes for Vladimir in the afterlife. Vladimir counting paper clips. Vladimir driving a night road in a windstorm. Vladimir dreaming of arrows. Vladimir reading a book about flying. Vladimir at the foot of a mountain. Vladimir in a time machine. Vladimir in a steel mill. Vladimir eavesdropping on Chekhov and Aristotle. Vladimir leaning on a telephone pole. Vladimir as a matryoshka nesting doll. Vladimir with a gun in his mouth. Vladimir haunting your mother. If you are lucky, 6 hours later, Vladimir might say, hello.
The light on Vladimir is thick and algaic. You are indeed in the company of the dead and chatting with the dead. Vladimir may appear to have been drinking. The glow of his jaws may suggest he has a burning light bulb in his mouth. A little red ribbon of blood may run down his forehead like a little red ribbon. Some Vladimirs may come with props and predisposed poses. Nabokov, for example, may open his mouth to reveal a beautiful, slightly trembling butterfly. Trechikov may come wearing a kimono and makeup. Chertkov may insist you call him Leo Tolstoy, his spiritual twin. Possible questions for Vladimir.
Who do I love? And why should I love? Who do I know named Vladimir, and who will care to hear about Vladimir? Will touch be unnecessary in the future?
If the chief faith of my people is the chief business of my people, what is the chief flaw of my people? If the chief obsession of my people is the chief business of my people, what will be the chief downfall of my people? What is the meaning of meaning?
Possession. If the seance is going well, invite the ghost into your body. It will be akin to being a two-headed, one-man proletariat. You will be tired of people. It will be like being asleep and hating to sleep, like trying to hear oneself snore loudly. When a little more time has passed, you will experience a wonderful futuristic mood. You will be born in a state of longing for life.
What not to do? Avoid summoning multiple ghost Vladimirs. They will agree on nothing.
I remember like it was now.
No, it was me who remembers it like it was now.
You remember like it was now, but I remember like it was before.
But I remember it like it was before, like it was now.
I remember how it was even before that, a long, long time ago.
I remember how it was before and like it was now.
Avoid summoning too many living Vladimirs.
I'll tell you what happened to me. Morning after last seance, I awoke to the chatter of 4 or 5 dozen living Vladimirs, suits in the varied colors of smoke and leaves at the tail end of autumn. Long hair, no hair, black, white, gray men, a few curious adolescent boys, and even a plump potato-skinned babushka and her granddaughter namesake, the Vladimiras, named after their grandmother's father, who was also there, encased in a small tin foil frame the old woman carried. Yes, I told her, you may sit for a portrait, and later I drew her holding her father's portrait to her chest, like a certificate of birth. One of the veteran Vladimirs waiting outside my studio heard her chuckle and swore I was in the company of a chain-smoking soldier newly returned from war. He stepped into the room, looking for the source of the laughter. Embarrassed, he later told me how many friends he'd lost to the war. I finished 2 or 3 portraits an hour for 8 or 9 hours that day. But, my goodness, when Vladimir, the granddaughter of Vladimir the babushka, settled before my easel, she emitted the strange pink heat that could not be contained in paint. I knew the succubus in her was the incubus in me, the omnibus omnia. You know what that means, the omnibus omnia, everything for everybody. She removed her blouse and lay in a wool skirt, a contrast of dark brown and soft porcelain. I did not breathe as I painted her nipples.
How to end the party. If for any reason things start to get out of control quickly, beg the spirit to go in peace. Then, break the circle of hands, extinguish the candles, and turn out the lights. As the sun rises, there is a chance you'll find a Vladimir huddled in the tub upstairs, his arms and legs hanging over the sides. Tragic people are also theatrical. Theatrical people are also tragic. You or one of your guests should declare, I'm all even with life, and you should all just go outdoors abruptly. After the seance. Vladimir means to rule the world. Vladimir means to give meaning to the world. Consequently, venerable, vehement Vladimirs may continue to appear. Violent, vagabond, vandal Vladimirs, or virtuoso Vladimirs, virtuous Vladimirs, kidnapped, mummified, gift-wrapped, bitch-slapped, riff-raff Vladimirs. I do not know what will happen. Dead. He may wish to be dead again.
Over to you, Musco.
Thank you very much, Iowa. Так, дамы и господа, мы пришли к последнему стихотворению нашего вечера. И мне дали добро вам сказать, не волнуйтесь, оно короткое. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the last poem of our evening, and I have been authorized to tell you, do not worry, it's short. Так, стихотворение Максима Амелина. Читают Илья Ромашко, Яна Иртеньева. So the poetry of Maxim Amelin in Russian, read by Ilya Romashko and Yana Irtenieva.
Как во городе было в Вологде, да на площади на Соборной я, собирался там весь честной народ, весь наличный люд, все военные, духовные, приказные, торговые, все нарядные жены мужние, девки красные, дети малые, и вся нищая с ними братья, с озеваками да сопраздными.
Как въезжали два в город вестника, два скорых гонца на лихих конях златосбруйчатых сереброкованных. Из страны один из полуночной, от обители Соловецкие, от Изосимы и Саватия. Из земли другой из полуденной, от самой Москвы белокаменной, от всея Руси самодержица.
Как один летел белым голубем, а другой гонец, черным вороном. Месяц едучи со неделею, при себе везли свитки грамоты скорописчаты, за печатями сургучевыми.
Как два вестника повстречались, на площади на Соборная, повстречались, поприветились, стали друг друга разыспрашивать. Вопрошал первой млад-гонец друга.
Ой, ты гой, еси добрый молодец, каковую весть при себе везешь? Из земли везешь, из полуденной, из самой Москвы белокаменной, от царя самодержица.
Не скрывал гонец свиток грамотку, как вас говорит громким голосом. Такову везу весть я добрую, из земли везу, из полуденной, от самой Москвы белокаменной, от всея Руси самодержица, что осаду снять государь велит, отступить стрельцам купно с пушками с опищалями, от обителя Соловецкие, от Изосимы и Саватия. Всех ослушников воли царские, всех отступников веры правая не велит казнить, велит миловать, чтоб молились Богу за царя неправославного Алексея Лисвета Михайловича.
Как услышали, так и ахнули весь честной народ, весь наличный люд, все военные и духовные, все приказные и торговые, все нарядные жены мужние, девки красные, дети малые, и вся нищая с ними братья, с озеваками да сопраздными.
Вопрошал второй млад-гонец друга. Ой, ты гой, еси добрый молодец, каковую весть при себе везешь, из страны везешь, из полуночной, от обители Соловецкие, от Изосимы и Саватия.
Не вскрывал гонец свиток грамоту, как вас говорит громким голосом. Такову везу весть недобрую, из страны везу, из полуночной, от обителя Соловецкие, от Изосимы и Саватия, что взята была крепость силою, долгим натиском, быстрым приступом. Все ослушники воли царские, все отступники веры правая переловлены, перевешаны, чьей душе теперь в рай или в ад идти, сам Господь вершит справедливый суд.
Как услышали, разом охнули весь честной народ, весь наличный люд. все военные и духовные, все приказные и торговые, все нарядные жены мужнины, девки красные, дети малые, и вся нищие с ними братья, со зеваками да сопраздными. Вопрошал второй молодой Неструка.
Как сходили тут два скорых гонца с лихих коней златосбручатых, сребракованных, и отправились на царев кабак. Ели досыта, пили до пьяна, ели досыта, яства сладкие, пили до пьяна, зелья горькие, стали друг друга да расспрашивать, речи тайные между собой вести. Пили день, другой, а на третий день потекли к Москве белокаменной. Ворон голубю око выклевал.
Ворон голубю око выклевал. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. Let me see you stripped down to the bone. Let me see you make some decisions without your television. Let me see you strip down just for me.
Спасибо большое. Iowa, that was Maxim Amevin. We're looking forward to hearing it in translation.
The meeting at Velogda by Maxim Amelin. The action takes place on February 17th, 1676.
Now in Velogda, in the square, the people gather, all the fair and honest people of the town, the soldiers and the monks, the men and proper women, pretty girls and children, clerks and all the merchants, and their poor brothers, and the people watchers, yes, and the idle.
Two heralds hurried to the city. Two messengers on their fast horses,
galloping on golden harned horses, golden harnessed with silver hooves.
one from the islands of the north, from the residents of Solovki, from Zosima and Svati.
The other from the southern vast, from white-stoned Muscovy itself, from the stricken Tsar of Olive Rus.
One flying like a raven,
One like a snow-white dove.
both covering in 1 week distances that took most men a month.
Each carrying a scroll stamped with an iron seal,
The messengers met in the square.
and set to questioning each other.
The first one said, "O good young man, what news do you bring from the south, from the white-stoned Muscovy and the Tsar, the autocrat of all of Rus?"
The herald didn't hide the scroll. He spoke in a loud voice. I bring good news from white-stoned Muscovy, news from the Tsar of Olive Rus. He orders that the siege be lifted, that all the troops stand down, withdraw their cannons from the town, together with the cannons and the musketry belonging to the men from Solovki, from Zosima and Svati, from those who disobeyed the Tsar, who fell away from the true faith. The Tsar will spare them punishment, will show them mercy if they pray to God for the Orthodox Tsar, for Saint Alexei Mikhailovich.
They listened and they sighed, the fair and honest people in the square, the soldiers and the monks, the men and proper women, pretty girls and children, clerks and all the merchants, and their poor brothers, and the people watchers, yes, and the idol.
The second herald asked the first, "What news do you bring from the islands in the far north, O good young man? From the residents of Solovki, from Zosima and Svati?"
The herald didn't hide the scroll. He spoke in a loud voice. "I bring sad tidings from that northern land, from the residents of Solovki, from Zosima and Svati. The fortress was besieged and taken after long years in a fierce attack on orders from the Tsar of Rus, from Whitestone, Muscovy itself. All those who disobeyed the Tsar, who fell away from the true faith, have been cut down or hanged. And now their souls reside in heaven or hell. God will decide their fate on Judgment Day."
They listened and they sighed, the fair and honest people in the square, the soldiers and the monks, the men and proper women, pretty girls and children, clerks and all the merchants and their poor brothers, and the people watchers, yes, and the idol.
The messengers on their fast horses, galloping on golden harnessed horses,
Golden harnessed, with silver hooves, set off for Tsar Alexei's tavern.
they ate their fill and drank to the depths. They stuffed themselves with sweets. They drank the bitter potions to the depths.
And then they told each other secrets. They drank for one day, and then a second. And on the third day, they rode to Muscovy.
The raven pecked the eye of the dove.
Hello, Iowa.
Hello, Moscow.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Вот так мы пришли к концу чтения нашего вечера. Пожалуйста, я знаю, что наш поэт сегодня в зале. Встаньте, пожалуйста, что мы можем вас поблагодарить. Инга Кузнецова, Максима Амилин, Анна Рус. Thank you very, very much. Wonderful authors of the poetry that we have heard tonight and authors of the translations. И теперь мы приглашаем вас на маленькую такую короткую дискуссию с авторами и с залом, вот, на прямой связь с Айовой. У вас, do you guys have any questions? The authors in Russia.
Well, let me just say we have two of our poets here. We've got Quan Berry and Dora Malik, and the questions can go both ways. I wonder if our poets have questions for the Russian poets. There's that ominous silence that so often comes
Anybody
about.
in the audience have a question? At least in Moscow? Or Iowa too.
Yep. Okay, then let me ask a question of Anna Rus.
Anna Rus, вопрос к вам.
Tell me, when you were starting to write the poem, when you were given the... Are we there? Yeah.
Yes.
When you got the theme of contact and you began to think about composing the poems for this, were there any special considerations that you had in mind? Were there formal ideas that you wanted to address?
Anna? Anna? Ну, чтобы слышали вас в IOV.
Туда. Ну, мне кажется, что если тебе дают задание написать что-то на тему «контакт», то главное...
With the special topic of contact. Sorry.
Ну, в общем, когда тебе дают тему «контакт», ну, то есть любому поэту, в общем-то...
Any poet who has that particular theme that was given to me.
То он может написать все, что угодно, потому что мне кажется, что любое стихотворение
practically anything.
Это по-любому контакт.
Because any poem is actually a contact. It's a
Ну,
contact.
то есть довольно сложно придумать, какое твое стихотворение не про контакт.
To find out, to come up with an idea that wouldn't be about contact.
Поэтому надо просто ждать, пока тебя что-нибудь напишется, а потом это отдать, и это будет про контакт.
You just need to wait for something to come to you and then create, and that would be a contact.
Ну, по крайней мере, вы можете попытаться мне возразить, сказать, что у меня не получилось, но,
At least, you know, you can argue with
получилось.
me and tell me that I failed, but that was my idea.
По-моему, у всех получилось.
I think everybody succeeded in that particular assignment.
I don't know. Может быть, вам будут еще вопросы? У вас есть кого-нибудь, может быть, у нас какой-то вопрос к слушателям там в IOV? У кого-нибудь, может быть, вопрос к авторам? I have a question. Terrence Haynes is not with you.
Yes, but we can impersonate him.
I was wondering about his choice of the Russian name Vladimir and what specifically inspired him to pick that specific name.
Well, I could riff on that for a while, but I don't know what to say because I don't know why he went with Vladimir. But I will say that there's an interesting story about the translation that he made for the Max's poem. You may notice that Terence didn't actually do the translation for it. We had an interesting exchange going back and forth about the nature of translation. Max's poem depends entirely on the narrative in working in a folk rhythm, and when we sent the literal translation of the poem to Terence, he came back with about half as long a poem, and the entire story was gone. And he was interested, as he said, in the lyric impulse of the poem. That led to lots of emails back and forth about the nature of translation, which is really about the nature of exchange. How do we honor the intentions of our counterparts? How do we bring into our language some of the music and the meaning implicit in the original? I think that's what this whole enterprise is about. That says nothing about Vladimir's, but it bought us a little time, I hope.
I want to just add something about that Vladimir poem. In your question, I thought that the answer to your question was actually in the poem. The use that is made of the name, especially in the later parts of the poem. I hadn't heard the poem or read it before, but as I was listening to it performed, I was struck by the use of alliteration at that point and the actual meaning of in the roots of the word, the control of the world. That were actually thematized in the poem. So I thought it was actually very, as it developed, it became richer and richer along the theme of the name.
Anatoly Mironovich over here suggested and reminded us immediately that there have been several important Vladimirs in the history of Russia. Vladimir Lenin, Vladimir Putin. Any other questions?
We have a question here in Iowa
We have
City.
a question here, Adam from Iowa City.
Yeah. Hello. Здравствуйте. Hello. Hello. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I would love to hear from the stagers, from the directors of the stage performances on both sides of the screen, about how they took the texts and interpreted them to be seen both by the audience at home and the audience on the other side of the ocean, let's say. Because there was so much interpreting of the poems happening visually. So I'm hoping you can comment.
Было не готово.
Wasn't ready for that.
Буду отвечать. Здесь было два режиссера, Михаил Милькис, которого нет. Буду
Mikhail is not here right now.
отвечать за себя.
So I'm just going to be responsible for my own directing.
У нас было три автора, ну,
We had three authors.
Мы занимались, и они все абсолютно разные.
And they're all very, very different.
Поэтому мы работали с ними по-разному.
So we approached it differently with every author.
Со стихами, когда мы работали со стихами Анны Рус, нежно мной любимыми,
When we were working with Anna's poems,
нам было важнее всего рассказать историю, то, что обычно относится к прозе. Вот нам было важно, ну, мне казалось важным рассказать именно историю вот этого.
Iowa, can you hear us? The translation?
Yes, we can hear you. Yep.
You can hear the translation? Thank you very much.
We heard it for a part of the time. Do we still have the translation? It dropped out, the
Yes.
translation.
Okay.
Всё в порядке?
Зачем? Они меня слышат. Все нормально.
Ну, то есть это 4 стихотворения.
There were 4 poems
Анны Рус. Каждым из них,
that Anna wrote.
ну, как нам показалось, очень простая, очень близкая нам мысль.
And we thought it was very simple and very close to our heart, the idea that was in all the poems.
О том, что вот это счастье контакта, оно очень простое,
The
очень,
happiness of a simple contact it's very simple.
Очень рядом.
And it's very close to all of us.
Ну, то есть посмотреть в небо, услышать
to
сигнал
look
мобильного
up in the
телефона.
sky, to hear the sound of the phone.
Но мы занимаемся чем угодно, только не
But we are doing everything
вот этим самым контактом.
possible not to pay attention to those simple moments of contact.
Соответственно, ну, у актеров была, у каждого из них была
So
очень
every
простая
actor
задача.
had a very simple objective here.
Попытаться сделать
To
так, чтобы,
try and make it
ну, выйдя из зала, кому-то захотелось посмотреть в небо
make the audience believe that they should look up in the sky once they leave the audience
и
today.
спеть Happy Birthday to You.
And maybe sing all together a happy birthday song.
И хотя бы несколько часов нервно реагировать, когда звенит Nokia Tune.
And at least a couple of hours do
Ну,
not pay
как-то
attention
просто
to the Nokia's
обратить на это внимание.
tune, just to pay attention to the sound.
И все бросить и пойти убирать снег.
And maybe leave everything and go and clean the snowbanks in the middle of the street.
Очень сложное стихотворение, потрясающее
Very
Куан Бэйри.
difficult poem about Mary.
Еще и перевод, это совсем
And
другое.
translation was completely different.
Мы старались работать с ним как с музыкальным
We
произведением.
tried to approach it as a musical poem.
Это вариации на 3 голоса.
And I approach it as variation for 3 different voices as in a song.
Не очень получилось, к сожалению, не все
I
получилось.
don't think that everything came out the way I wanted to.
Потому что оказалось страшно сложно сделать,
Because it's
чтобы
very, very difficult.
артисты были именно 3 голосами.
It was every actor needed to have his own
И,
voice,
конечно,
and
если
that
бы у
was
нас
different.
было пару месяцев, может быть, это
So
получилось
maybe
бы
if I had more
как
time, a
хотелось.
couple of months perhaps,
Но
that
так
would have
они
worked better.
все время слипались.
Right now I feel that they were all together at too many points when they should have been
Может
separate.
быть, это особенность русской театральной школы.
Maybe it's
Они-
part of our theatrical school, I don't
Их-
know.
их
The
так
famous
долго-
Russian school.
Нет, нет, это прекрасно. Их так долго тренировали слушать
You know,
партнера.
they're so well trained to hear their partners
Здесь
and
была
to
задача не слушать
hear. I
партнера,
wanted them not to listen to their partners, and yet they were
нести
listening.
свое. И
So maybe that's our problem in our
немножко
training.
получилось, немножко не
So I
получилось.
think that it was successful, but to a point.
Стихотворение прекрасное тоже все прекрасные.
All the poems, I think, were wonderful.
Максима Амелина.
And Amelin's poem, Maxim's poem.
В общем, артисты уже мертвы, которые его читали. Простите нас, Максим, пожалуйста.
Maxim,
но там, как ни
we beg
странно,
your
тоже
pardon,
было
but
важно рассказать историю, сохранив.
It's very important to tell the story there as well.
То есть, с одной стороны, сохранить вот эту стилизацию,
On one hand, we
а с
wanted
другой
to
стороны,
be
рассказать
stylized.
очень страшную и, в
On
общем,
the
очень
other hand,
современную
we
историю.
wanted to tell the story that is very scary from many, many years ago, and yet it's very modern and very contemporary for our times.
Историю рассказали, стилизацию немножко.
So I think we told the story. I don't know if we succeeded in the style of the performance.
Вот.
Но
все.
That's all I can say. Thank you.
Alan, do you want to?
Thank you.
Adam, I'm going to ask Alan McVeigh, the artistic director and the director of our performing arts division, to say something about his work on Terence's poem and perhaps the whole concept.
No, I just want to say one brief thing, that the process of writing a poem, I'm not a poet, but I think that it is to inject into every line a certain amount of ambiguity so that it resonates with multiple meanings all the time. The process of creating theater is making choices. You can't play ambiguity. You have to play something specific. And the process for us in taking these poems and trying to put them on the stage was making choices, recognizing at every second that you had to limit yourself. And so in visualizing and even in speaking the poems, we made choices. I hope that they revealed something of the writer's work, and I hope that all of you will go back and read the poems again and again, because they are very beautiful works.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to hand the microphone to Anatoly Mironovich Smelyat.
Chris, I would like to finish the beautiful evening and to thank again Chris and all of our poets and all of our directors and all of the staff, all of the people who helped to make it happen. Actually, it's miraculous. 5,000 miles, big screen, people sitting in Iowa, people sitting here in the downtown of Moscow on the eve of protest and demonstrations and what have you. Unbelievable. Really, Hitchcock came through. And we will develop that story. We will make the second step with the playwrights and then with the prose writers. And probably we will use all of the equipments we have to develop in many, many ways our collaboration, which is probably great and justifies the topic of their poems. The contact is done. Thank you.
Thank you, Iowa. Have a good night.
And I'll just say by way of closing, thank you, Anatoly. It's been really an incredible experience for us to make this kind of contact. The contact for now is done, but we begin the next contact anew. Enjoy your evening. We're on our way to lunch. Thank you all.